This is Drew Jones of Drewsguitarshop in Seattle, Washington, and today I wanted to do a very brief video about Silicate Desiccant packages and issues involving lack of moisture. I'm going to go ahead and open up this case here. It's a G&L. It just came in today. And I noticed when I opened up this case that it had one of these silica gel packets in here. And that's really not unusual to see in guitar cases or sometimes guitar boxes when an instrument is shipped. And once in a while you'll find multiples of these in there, and a lot of times people don't bother to remove them, but I'm going to tell you why you should. This thing is kind of like the antithesis to a guitar case humidifier. So this, as opposed to humidifying the case, actually absorbs moisture that is present in the case. And so it's kind of doing the opposite of what a humidifier would normally do. It's reducing the relative humidity in the instrument case. And this is a problem for instruments that are sensitive to humidity. Less so for electric guitars. I'm not as concerned seeing this in an electric guitar case as I would be seeing it in an acoustic case. But regardless, I think that if you have one of these in your guitar case, you should probably pull it out, particularly if you live in a dry area, like you're in some kind of arid desert. You know, if you're in Las Vegas or LA or in any of those places that get like 15% relative humidity, you definitely don't want one of these guys in there making things worse. And I'll tell you a little story too. I had a customer come in a number of years ago who had a very high-end guitar that was built by a local luthier. You know, a skilled craftsman. In other words, somebody who would put together a very fine guitar. And it came to my shop with cracks in the soundboard, and I think a seam separation, if I'm remembering right. And this was a few years ago. But these are all issues that are generally the kind of thing that develop as a lack of humidity. They're the kind of thing that you end up with if you don't have enough relative humidity in the place where you're storing your instrument. Wood will shrink, and under the tension that is caused by wood shrinkage, it will oftentimes crack, or seams will separate. Bad things happen. And so, taking this guitar out of the case, I just remember looking at it and going, wow, it's just been forever since I've seen this kind of damage on an acoustic, because I'm originally from one of those arid climates in the Southwest, and so I used to see that kind of thing all the time, but I don't generally see those types of repairs in Seattle, and so I was just like scratching my head for a minute, and then I looked in the guitar case, and there was like 3 of these guys in there, you know, 3 big silica gel packages in there, and I just remember going, oh, okay, so this was likely the cause. So what we did was we ended up fixing all of the cracks in this guitar. I think I remember the bill being around like $100 or so. It had a number of cracks that needed to be rehumidified, and closed back up again, and then fixed. But we took all of the silica gel packages out, and I just said, you know, keep an eye on this, and you know, let me know how it goes. The guitar didn't end up coming back with any issues, and the removal of those silica desiccant packages definitely helped with maintaining a setup and maintaining the health of the instrument. So, you know, just keep in mind that when you see these guys, that this is a thing that's in there for shipping. This is not something that you want to keep in the guitar case or around your instruments in general. It is a thing that will remove moisture from the air, and that is not necessarily what you want to be doing. And definitely not in kind of an uncontrolled way like these things probably do. If you're in an area that has really massive humidity and you do need a dehumidifier, this is not the way that I would go about it. I would get a actual dehumidifier that has, you know, measurable, predictable sorts of results, and use that as prescribed, rather than, you know, dropping these things in your case, because, you know, who knows what this thing is going to do, you know, or how long it's going to last, or, you know, it's not a thing I would recommend. So anyway, keep an eye on your humidification. I'll just leave kind of a little PSA note here. The humidification and dehumidification industry as it relates to instruments is very large, and there are a lot of ads that are put out in guitar magazines and whatnot that kind of imply that everybody needs a humidifier or everybody needs a dehumidifier, and just to kind of demystify that for anybody watching and interested, guitars are happy around 40% relative humidity. Most builders keep their shop within like 40% or 45% relative humidity, and the reason for that is that if you send it to an arid climate, it's not going to go too far down from 40, and if you send it to a moist climate, it's not going to go too far up from 40. And so it's a nice level place to kind of keep a guitar. When you are dealing with like high humidity, like too high for an instrument, you're going to be talking about like, you know, over 60%, I would say, and over 60% as an average. And for going down below, I would say that if you're kind of sticking below 30% relative humidity as far as your like normal, you know, thing, you may be interested in exploring a humidifier, at least maybe for part of the year, but I would still not recommend like just putting one in there as a matter of course, because as with this Silicate Desiccant package causing problems with dehumidification, it is also possible to cause problems from overhumidification. Problems that come from overhumidification are similar in some instances to those that are caused with underhumidification, and that you'll sometimes end up with stress cracks and other things. But another thing that you'll deal with in some cases with overhumidification is issues like mold. I've had instruments come in that have had literal fuzzy mold growing on them because they were stored in an environment that had too much humidity. Wood will swell and then kind of shrink back and act really unstable. Ideally, you shouldn't be using either a humidifier or a dehumidifier, my opinion, for your instrument. If you're living in an area where your guitar is happy, and that is to say that the average humidity that you're dealing with is, you know, within those tolerances of like, you know, 30 to 60, I would say don't even bother. Get the instrument set up for the humidity that you're normally dealing with and call it good. Leave it where it's at. It's probably going to be fine, and I don't think you're going to run into any issues with it, assuming that the humidity in your environment remains at that you know, nice tolerance level. Times when you have to worry are long extended periods where you're dealing with much more humidity than you normally would have, or much drier periods than you would normally have. So anyway, that's my little speech on humidification and Silicate Desiccant packages and why these things should be pulled out of guitar cases. If you leave comments in the comments of this video, I'll try to get to them when I can. I try to answer them once in a while. A better way to get a hold of me, if you're in the Seattle area in particular, is to, you know, send me a direct message or you know, call. I will say that I prefer to not get too many out-of-state calls, because a lot of times I'm just not able to really help because I don't have an instrument in front of me, and I sometimes don't know what kind of weather systems, for example, related to the things in this video that you're dealing with. You know, I would recommend contacting a local shop if you have one and are not in Seattle. You know, that being said, if you found this video helpful and you want to kick me a few bucks, there's a link to my Ko-Fi in the description of the video. There's also a description to, or a link to my Patreon, and if you want to subscribe to that for like $1 a month, it helps me out and helps me when I take the time out of my day to produce these videos. And there's also a link to my website, which has my rates and my contact info and some other cool stuff that, you know, musicians might check out, like an instrument care page, which will kind of go over maybe some of the storage and, you know, care and upkeep for instruments that you might be interested in. There's also a lot more videos like this one on my channel. Some are tutorials, some are just kind of talk and shop like this one here. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this one. Check out my other stuff and recommend it to friends if you think they'll be interested. Thanks for watching.